I know there are things people told me years ago that I absolutely heard and understood intuitively. I know I heard every single word they said. I can probably repeat the advice back. I could explain to someone else. I can even sound really wise doing that. And still, I did not actually know it yet. You know exactly what I mean. Some lessons sound completely reasonable when someone says it to you. You sit, they're nodding your little head. Mm-hmm, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Then life puts you inside that exact sentence, and suddenly you are standing there thinking, oh, that's what they meant. Why didn't I say it like that? And the funny part is, they probably did exactly like that. You simply had not lived enough of that sentence for it to land. I've been thinking about the difference between information and what I can earn understanding it. Information can be handed to you. We know this. Somebody can tell you something, you can read it in the book, watch a video, take an entire class on it. You can highlight the sentence 1,000 times. You can screenshot it, save the post, send it in the group chat, and still not fully know the sentence means inside your own life because earned understandably and unless okay because earned understanding usually comes with a receipt. Let me slow down because this is going to be a great conversation. Sometimes a very expensive receipt. Like life has fees. We know this. Nobody talks enough about the fees. You hear someone say, everybody is not your friend. Okay, that sounds reasonable. Yeah, that's true. Then someone you trust deeply shows you otherwise. That sentence has a lot of weight. You can hear like time goes by quickly. Everybody tells you that when you're young, ahead of you, yada yada yada. Then one day you look up at an old photo and realize something happens 20 years ago. 20. Excuse me. I was just there. How was that 20 years ago? Now, time goes fast, and that means something different when you hear. You have to choose yourself sometime. Beautiful. But then on a mug, put on a mug, put on a t-shirt, whatever. Put some flowers behind it on an Instagram post. Then choosing yourself means disappointing somebody you love. Hmm. Now we have a real lesson here. Because it's easy to believe in boundaries. When nobody's upset about your boundaries. It's easy to believe in following your dreams. I have to say that, but nothing meaningful is at risk of it. It's very easy to tell another person to walk away from something that hurts them. When you do not share their history, their money, their memories, their fears, hopes, children, and any other years they invested inside it, sometimes we don't have that insight of why they still there. Sometimes advice sounds simple because the person speaking it is not carrying the consequences of the decision. That does not make the advice wrong. No, it kind of it makes living the advice of the education in its entirety. And I think we need more grace for the difference between knowing and embodying something. Just because you knew better in theory does not mean you knew how to do better just at that very exact moment. Knowing something and living something are not always the same skill. There are things I understand now that I could not understand before. the same way 20 years ago. Not because I was stupid, and neither were you. You had the information available then. You had the experience available then. You had the confidence you had then. The fear, you had that then. And the resources and the relationships. You made decisions with the version of you, and we're going to say in that toolbox. And yes, sometimes we look back and we think, girl, what were we doing? Sometimes the answer is actually simple. We were learning, not efficiently, and but we were learning. One lesson life taught me differently is that everybody will not understand you. Everybody will not understand you until this reaches beyond people pleasing. Sometimes you will not make a decision that makes complete sense inside your life, maybe to other people, and somebody who genuinely loves you will still not understand your decision. Why would you leave that job? Somebody probably will ask you. Why would you start over now? You travel alone? Why would you move there? Why are you dating again? Ugh, why aren't you dating anybody? Let's start that business. Then what's another one? Why did you change your appearance? Hmm. Why are you doing this all of a sudden? And sometimes you will give the most beautiful explanation imaginable. You will provide content and PowerPoints and examples and evidence. You may even break out a speaking engagement on it. They still will not get it. And that is where another lesson arrives. Other people understanding a decision is nice. It's not always required for the movement. Sometimes being misunderstood is survival. That sounds simple until you experience it. You thought everybody had to understand, then somebody did not. And you make a decision anyway. Morning still came, you drank your coffee or tea, you handle your business, you figure all these things out. And you discover that another person thinking you made a mistake does not automatically make your decision wrong. That can change the way you move. Another lesson. You can love someone deeply and still not belong together. That one takes some living because we grow up with this kind of idea that if people truly love each other, love will solve the rest. Sometimes it doesn't help solve a lot of shit. And sometimes love is absolutely present, but compatibility isn't. Timing is not. Shared values aren't there. Communication is dead. Mutual effect is like kaput. Shared vision is two different directions. You can deeply care about a person and still recognize that being together is costing both people too much. That lesson does not usually feel inspirational while you are actually living it. It feels confusing. It feels like grief because sometimes it will almost be easier if you absolutely hated each other. Then you can say, well, that was terrible. I'm happy that shit is done. But when something contains real love and real difficulty at the same time, you have to learn how to hold two truths together. That person mattered to me, and this is still needed to end. feel like life teaches nuances. Advice like clean categories like good, bad, you stay, you leave, right, wrong. Life walks into a room with like 17 different tabs open. That's kind of different. And sometimes you are sitting there like, can somebody close some of these tabs? Why is it playing somewhere? Where is that coming from? Like, what? Like, that's a delicate sometime. Another lesson that takes living is like being needed and being loved are not the same thing. Now, that one takes years for a capable person to recognize, especially when you have always been useful, the reliable, dependable one, the organizer, the fixer, the person with the answers, the one, the one everybody calls when something happens. Being needed can feel like a lot of work. Being needed can feel a lot like love. People call you, seek you out, they praise you. I don't know what I'll do without you. And you heard that. That could feel really good until one day you start wondering, would you still want me around if I did not fix anything? Would you enjoy me if I wasn't useful? Can I come empty handed? Can I be tired sometime? How about if I needed something? Can I not know the answers? I want to know if I could simply exist around you. That realization can change a lot of relationships because now you start looking for reciprocity, not scorekeeping. Not. I did 3 things for you, so you owe me 3 things back. That sounds exhausting. I mean, room for you to receive? Yeah. Room for someone else to know you beyond your function? Yes. Sometimes you do not understand that lesson until you have been needed so much. Then you become tired of only being necessary. You want to be enjoyed too. That matters. Here's another one. You cannot save everybody by trying harder. No. Somebody needs that sentence. And I hope you heard it. You cannot save everybody by trying harder because some of us have been taught that effort solves almost everything. You work harder, you try again, explain it again, give more, stay a little longer, maybe be more patient and understanding and have another conversation about these things. Oh, take another class. Yeah. Give it another chance. We maybe want to try a different approach. Sometimes effort is exactly what is needed. And sometimes the lesson is to simply stop. That can be terrifying for a capable woman because trying is familiar. Trying, it feels you have control of things. If I keep working on it, then maybe I can change the outcome. Stop being forces you to accept that something may actually be finished or limited or simply not yours anymore. There are relationships you cannot save by becoming more lovable. Jobs you cannot make fulfilling by becoming more productive. People you cannot convince to value you. by giving them even more of you. You know, plans expire, dreams sometimes change shape, you know, and rules stop fitting the equation, and the version of ourselves finish their excitements. No, no. Sometimes letting go is not a failure. Sometimes trying forever is how we avoid admitting what life already taught us. You can be committed and change directions, and you can be loyal and still leave. Yeah, you can do that. Mm. You can be grateful and you can still want more. Honor what something gave you, outgive it the rest of your life, man. That one deserve a moment, it does. Because we sometimes believe that if a chapter was valuable, we are obligated to remain inside it. No, appreciate what you learned there. Appreciate who loved me at that time. You should have appreciation what I built there, who I became there, and still stay and still like say, this chapter is absolutely completed. It's closed. I'm moving to the next one. That is not disrespecting the chapter at all. That is reading the whole book. Because you're the author of that book. And that connection is another lesson. A detour is not always wasted time. We are obsessed with being on track with everything. What track? Who built it? Where are we going? Do you purchase tickets? Because I need someone to explain the universal life schedule sometime and everybody keep referencing. A 25 do this, a 30 has this, a 40 you should be here, at 50 apparently we start disappearing. No, did I miss the orientation? Did I? Because sometimes you take a job you thought it would be forever, but it's not. And you learn something. You date someone you believe would be your person. They're not. But you learned something. You built a business. Things change. Study something you learn, you later leave, Move somewhere that does not become home. Yeah. How about creating something that does not work well? We've been there. And you make decisions you later reverse. It does not automatically make those years wasted. Like life is not a straight hallway. No. Sometimes you need an entire room to learn one important thing. And then you leave that room. The question becomes, what did I take with me? Not like, how do I punish myself for ever walking into that room? That distinction matters, sis, because if every every past decision becomes evidence against you, you eventually become terrified to make new decisions. But if evidence or experience can become information, you move a little differently. And you can say, I know more now. And knowing more does not require hating who you were then. I have done versions of this before as well. Talk about how work, responsible careers, and life may have pulled me away from pieces of myself, but also acknowledge that those years gave me leadership, systems, professional experiences, confidence, skills you did not possess earlier. The point is not, I wasted all those years. The point is, maybe that season prepared me for what I am creating now. Because sometimes reinvention is not becoming some completely new woman. No, Sometimes it is remembering her, remembering something that was always there underneath work, responsibilities, and survival. But now she has more tools, language, more experiences, way more resources, maybe even more nerve. Go figure. That version could be very interesting because that all comes with new lessons and changing of maybe a new community. You change, people change. And that is, and it sounds obvious until somebody changes in a direction that did not personally authorize. Ugh, now we have a lesson. We love growth when everybody grows in a direction we understand. But what happens when your friend does not want what you used to want, you know? When your adult child chooses differently, when your partner develops new interests. Like when somebody like who always was available start protecting your time. That woman out there listening to this, when the women everybody knew start traveling, creating, speaking differently, dressing differently, saying no, trying things, changing things. Do you ever hear like, you changed? Sometime, yes, that was the assignment. You know, we are alive. Change is supposed to happen here. But that lesson has another side. If I want permission to evolve, I have to leave room for other people to evolve too. That does not mean I have to live every change. It means history does not give me ownership over another person's future. That is a whole conversation by itself that I hope that we're starting to have more of. We're going to park that one, but that is something that definitely I feel needs to have a conversation. Then there is the lesson about time. I do not mean this in a depressing or morbid way. I mean the ordinary reality that seasons become years very quickly and eventually someday starts sounding very suspicious. Someday I'll travel. Someday I will write. Someday I will start the business, take the class. Someday I will go there and wear that and rest more, and call that person. Someday you might will try, move, create. And eventually you realize someday is not actually on. That does not mean panic. It does not mean book every flight tonight. Although depending on the airfare. Because, book that flight. I'm all about that. And yes, if you want to go book it, sis, go book it. Listen, I'm still going to look. I did not say, but I didn't say book it. I said look, but no, book it. But we're gonna research this responsible. But what it means is becoming conscious of what you postpone automatically. Sometimes we are waiting for a version of like life where we have no responsibilities and no fears, financial concerns, inconvenient timing, and everyone approves. Sis, that week is booked. It is not coming. Sometimes you being scared and busy and being imperfectly, ah, you begin with the limited information that you have. You begin with what you have. And courage does not always look particularly glamorous. Sometimes courage is sending that one email, making that phone call, opening up a document, going somewhere alone, saving $50, taking the class, asking that one question. It even talks about like showing up badly the first time. We imagine change as one like giant moment. Life often changes through tiny repeated decisions. That is another lesson. I understand differently now. And then there is control. Oh, we love control. If I make the perfect decision, prepare correctly, work hard enough, communicate perfectly, plan everything, I surely know I'm going to have a great outcome. Guaranteed. No, you can influence and prepare and participate. You cannot guarantee people will still have the free will to like you or love this. Companies change, plans change, bodies change, you change, I change, family changes. Life keeps happening. And sometimes peace does not come from controlling every possible variable. Okay? Sometimes peace comes from trusting yourself to respond when the variable changes. That's a different kind of confidence. Not nothing difficult will ever happen. More like if something happens, I trust myself to meet it. That is earned confidence. Not confidence because everything was worked. Because you have already watched yourself survive things you thought you can flatten yourself. That's confidence. Now you have evidence. And maybe that is another reason, some lessons that need to be lived. Somebody can tell you you're strong, okay? But the first time you watch yourself rebuild, the word changes. Somebody can tell you you'll be okay, and you might even believe them. But when you look back later and realize that you actually were okay, now you possess another kind of knowing. You have evidence about yourself, but I want to be careful here because pain does not automatically equal wisdom. Experience does not automatically make somebody wise. We go through something and learn the wrong lesson. One person may betray you, the lesson becomes nobody could ever be trusted. Is that wisdom or fear? Okay, another one. Oh, your business may fail and the lesson becomes I am not meant for entrepreneurship. A relationship may end and love is not for me. I mean, women, hold on. That is a very big conclusion for one painful classroom. This is why reflection matters. You have to examine what happened because otherwise we'll carry a particular strategy forward and call it wisdom. And then you never change out of that strategy. And those are not always the same thing. Sometimes what protected us in one season starts costing us in another. That is worth remembering. Maybe being a hyper independent help you survive, but now receiving help feels impossible. Staying quiet keeps the peace before, but now silence is costing you your intimacy. People pleasing could have kept you connected in an environment where disagreement felt dangerous, but now you cannot tell people what you really want at the end. By now, brace for battles that are not even happening yet. That is where new information matters because you cannot constantly do better with tools. nobody ever taught you. Sometimes growth is not simply stop doing that. Sometimes growth means learning what to do instead. That is completely different and a completely different conversation. So how do we turn experience into actual wisdom? Because by this age, some of us have stories. Some of us could shut the internet down with our stories. Names changed to protect everybody involved, including ourselves. Oh gosh, songs be on Law and Order. No pun intended, Law and Order. So, so I have my little index card here because I have 6 questions to work with. Not because life became a worksheet, no, but because reflection, gives experience somewhere to go. Okay. So the first one is name the sentence. What do you understand differently now because you actually lived it? Maybe everyone wouldn't understand you. Love is not always enough. Rest does matter. You know, time is valuable. One thing about I can survive change. Write your sentence. Do not write the whole story yet. Just name the lesson. The second one, name the receipt. Like what happens that made the sentence real for you? Like I've learned this when that phase opens doors. How about when I left? When I failed? Or I learned this when I stayed? You know? Like when I disappoint somebody, blah, blah, blah. You know? That is your receipt. The third one is separate the lesson from the scar. This one matters. Ask yourself, what did I actually learn? And what am I afraid will happen again? Maybe the lesson is I showed more move slowly, or, never trust anybody. Maybe lesson is I need better questions. The scar can be like, never let anybody close to you, never fall deeply in love again. Wisdom should help you live better. I always feel that way. Fear usually wants you to stop living again. Okay, the fourth question. Keep the wisdom and leave the shame. You do not have to insult your younger self to prove you grew. No. I really want that one heard. Stop calling her stupid, pathetic. Stop saying, I cannot believe I did that. Well, believe it, you did. Now what? What did she, what did she not know then? What was she trying to protect? What option could she have actually saw? You can hold yourself accountable without turning your past self into some kind of permanent enemy. That is growth. The fifth one. Live the lesson. Because knowing the lesson and practicing it are different. If your lesson is, I need to speak more, or I need to speak sooner, just speak sooner. If your lesson is, I keep putting myself last, make one decision that includes you. I choose people who need me more than they know me. Then date differently. Friend differently. Connect differently. Wisdom that never changes behavior is just a beautiful quote. Period. I'm sure we've seen that somewhere before. And it's like, yes, me. I do not want collecting quotes. I want collecting and building our lives. Period. The quotes are great. I use them. But building your lives, that's what we need to do. And number 6, leave room to relearn. This may be my favorite one, actually. Because sometime when you learn at 30, you need to update at 50. Maybe at 30, you need independence. And at 50, you need to learn how to receive. Maybe 30, you needed to prove. You know, you could do anything alone. Now, listen, maybe community. Maybe you once needed to learn how to say no. Maybe you need to learn when yes can expand you. At whatever age we first learn the lesson, sometimes growth means revisiting an old version with completely new information. That's beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. And this is where I think getting older sometimes becomes really interesting. Not because I certainly know everything. Absolutely not. That would make the rest of this journey incredibly boring. Because I don't. I hope I keep learning. I hope at 60, I look back at 50 and say, girl, you still had no idea? I hope 70 years old me laugh at 60-year-old me. That means I keep living and changing and becoming. I do not want my age to become a certificate saying, congratulations, you are done being taught. There are places I have not been, people I have not met, ideas I have not considered. Parts of me I have not even discovered. I'm currently believing that experience may eventually refine and excites me, and I am here for it. I do not need to know absolutely everything. No. If just enough openness to recognize a lesson when it arrives, preferably without the expensive receipt of it. But apparently life has its own billing department. Mm-hmm. And I want that for the women listening to this. I do not want you to hear my lessons and think you need to live exactly like me. No, that would defeat the entire conversation. Maybe something I said reminds you of your own story, and maybe one sentence finally named something you could not ever explain before. So I want you to ask yourself, what do I know that I only knew intellectually before? You know? Would you stop fighting, believing, and changing your mind about things? You know, what do I wish I understood sooner? And what am I grateful that I understand now? That last question, and that last thought. Oh my goodness, I love it because what you're at 22, at 42, at 62, you learn, now use it, and you're not late to your own wisdom. And you're not behind because something took longer to understand. Some lessons need a body, a decision, a heartbreak, a risk, a chance, curiosity, a mistake. Sometimes life has to put you at the sentence before you truly know what the sentence means. And when that happens, oh baby, do not say I should have known better. Try saying I know differently now. The shift absolutely mad because I should have known better keeps dragging you backwards. I know differently now asks, what will I do next? This is where your future lies. Maybe that's the real lesson. Life is not always asking whether you made every decision perfectly, sis. Life is asking, what are you doing with what you know now? Because you know something, you have lived something. You've survived and discovered and changed something, and your mind changed something. It changes directions. You learn who you are and who you're not. You learn where your softness is and your roughness and your courage. You meet and you learn people. When you need honesty and when you have fun, that information for the women you are becoming, it may be part of a legacy. It's not pretending we figured absolutely everything out. No. So keep preaching, keep loving, keep doing all those things, keep becoming. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Mm. Thank you for spending some time with me today. Oh my goodness, if this conversation spoke to you, come back to Enjoying the Empowerment Click and share this with someone who is still sitting. Maybe it's had a lesson they're grown right now, and it still doesn't make sense to them. Sometime understanding comes later, much later. But once like life teaches you something, you can go to decide what to build with it when you learn. Until next time, keep growing and keep becoming, please. And let's keep creating conversations that transfer lives. I'm LaKenyon, and I'll see you in the next conversation. Peace.